All right, come on, everybody. Welcome in. It is House Edge Live. John here from Casino Gaming Central in Las Vegas for the next week or so. I think I'm finally going to get to go home here. We're doing this week for sure here in town, and then I think next Tuesday I'm going to head back to Seattle for probably for good. Um, the schedule looks like it'll be back to Monday through Thursday shows from the regular studio starting in about a week. But then I'm going to be gone for a week. I have a cruise we're doing with the family, so I'll be a planned vacation away, and then we'll be on. So what is going on with my stream? My stream deck is kind of acting weird. Anyway, so with that said, I got 3 shows for you this week. We're going to talk a little bit about. I'm going to use a play session that I had over the weekend to kind of drive the conversation for the. Everything is messed up today. To drive conversation for the week here, and I really want to talk about game optimization. I want to talk about how do you optimize yourself for, I think, one of the 3 big variables that we have. And we'll talk about all 3 of them today, and we'll kind of dive into them as we go throughout the week. But yeah, like Randall said, I hope you all had a good weekend. And yeah, share in chat if you played this weekend, where you went, what you did, how it went, and I'll share mine as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and hop in here. I've got to run the controls manually, so forgive me that it's going to be a little bit weird today, but we're going to go here, and we have to go. Oh my God, it's going to be a mess today. There we go. All right. Why do we try so hard when the casinos have you all the way, man? They will find ways to take your money, no matter how good of a player you are. No matter how big your bankroll is, no matter how lucky you are, they'll find a way in. They always seem to figure out a way to get in there, and that's their business model, right? The business model is to take your money. That's what it's all about. It's about finding ways to bankrupt you before you get too good to take some money back from them. And when I say get too good, you can never be that good. Like, you can be a perfect blackjack player, perfect, and still the casino has an edge on you. You can be a perfect craps player. You can play games mathematically perfectly, and still they have the edge. They also have, as you'll see here, more bankroll than you do. So even on a good day, even if the bet's paid fairly, they would still take all your money because they have more they can outlast you in the bad times, right? A lot of what makes you a good gambler potentially is your relationship between your risk tolerance, how smart you are, how well you know your games, right? How disciplined you are. Do you set goals? Do your emotions get involved? And for a lot of us, that stuff is really hard to do. And I'll tell you a story here in a minute when we get to the real meat of the day that kind of relates to all this and how hard all this really is for us to manage. So this week, what I want to talk about is this idea of what can you optimize for? And you really can't optimize for everything, right? The main things you have control over are how much time you spend there and how much money you bring. Now, besides all the emotional stuff, that's what you can control. How much time you spend, how much money you bring. When you optimize for either of those 2 things, right, you'll be, I hate to say okay, but you'll be in a better position. If you don't optimize or you can't optimize for either of those things, or if they're really opposed, you're going to have a tough time. And again, I'll tell you a story here in a minute about a rough time that I had over the weekend as it relates exactly to trying to optimize time and money together when I couldn't optimize for either. So, and I think, you can imagine what happened, right? And I'll really tell you why. Tomorrow, I want to talk about this idea of vacation gambling versus target gambling. And by target gambling, what I mean is going to the casino on a regular cadence to win. You're trying to build a bankroll. You're trying to do the grind, whatever, right? That's one way of playing. It's 90% of what I talk about are players who are going on the regular to go win money, to build an account, to build leverage, and that sort of thing. That's one type of mindset, which is all I teach about. There's this other mindset, though, which is the vacation mindset. And I touch on it a lot, but I don't really get too deep into it. Tomorrow, I want to get deep into it. And I really want to talk about the differences between kind of going with money to burn as an approach versus going with money to grow as an approach. And I think it'll be important. And then, of course, on Wednesday, we'll talk about $5 tables. I played a couple of $5 tables since I've been in Vegas, and I have thoughts. And I will share the thoughts with you, and I'll get your thoughts back if we can. So, all that said, let's hop on in and really get into this idea of optimization. So, what I think you can optimize for, in all actuality, are these three things. And I mean, you can't optimize for luck, but you can plan for it. And here's what I mean. Time is obvious, right? If you're not playing in a way, or your strategy that you're going to bring, whatever the game is, if it's just a little up and pull in baccarat, or if it's a simple up and pull in blackjack, or if it's a pass line with odds and craps, or whatever it's going to be, right? You can optimize for time by really working those bets. But the thing of it is, the casino ultimately over time will get you. And I think when you hear people, and good friends of ours like Waylon, get in, get out, Ken, get in, get out. Time is money at a casino. The longer you spend at the casino, the more time you spend, the more cracks they have at your money. I gave you a quote from David at Casino Quest a couple weeks back, and he was saying the way he frames it is the casinos want a shot at the money, right? They don't like players like me. They won't necessarily kick me out, right? For the way that I play, and they haven't, and I don't expect that they. Hold on, I got a wire going crazy here. I don't expect that they will, but they don't like players who will come in and let's, for example, say in blackjack, start with a 2-unit bet, take a 2-unit win, drop it down to 1, take a 1-unit win, and walk, right? Win their 2 in a row, cash in, cash out in 10 minutes. They hate that guy. They hate the guy who goes 110 inside in craps and does my double regression thing, my duck and cover. They hate that guy because that guy is more prone to walk away a winner. And if it's a Vegas casino, they won't see me again. Like if I did that at every casino, if I just walked in and kind of casino hopped, right? And I did, 110 inside here and 110 inside there, and I did whatever, right? And I did it once a day for a week or for a month or whatever it was. If I went to different places every day, they would hate that. They don't want that. They don't want that business. They don't want the guy that's going to be there for 2 outcomes and goes home. That doesn't help them keep the lights on. And no, they won't kick you out. But they again, it's not the gambler that they want to play with. They want to play with a person who is looking for the hot roll or looking for the big run or some kind of a streak. They optimize for time. The casinos are there 24/7. They have already optimized for time because they know that over time you can't beat them. Over time, that house edge, at the very least, the house edge will get you. At the most likely, your brain will get you because you'll go on tilt at some point when you start losing and donk more money than you ought to. They've already optimized for time, and you probably can't unless you're like Dice Dr. Dan, who's going to go on in with some kind of a loss goal, right? Beyond how much money you brought. Well, I'll put your comment up there, Dan. Somebody goes in with a plan, and that plan is not to stay. That's not their guy, especially if you don't go back every day, right? If you don't go back to the same house, like if I went to like where I live here in Vegas on the south side, right? If I went and I drove to work and I stopped off at South Point every day at 9:15 and I bought in for 500 and I did 330 inside and I took my 2 hits and I walked out of there every single day on the way to work. They don't want that player. That's not their customer. That doesn't keep the lights on. It doesn't bring the rodeos in, right? It's the people that stay there and come back and back and back and back and back, and they donk 500, 500, 500 every session or more every session trying to get it back. That's the player they want. But that said, the other thing you can optimize for is money. And you can use money as kind of a hedge or kind of a hammer. And what I mean by that is this: if you have enough money, you're buying in for $5,000. Let's say you're buying for $5,000. Ken from Ken Knows Gambling does a lot of shows, right? And his bankroll is always $5,000. Well, most of us aren't doing that. So I mean, I love Ken, but that's not the reality for 90% of us. For most of us are buying in for 500 or 1,000 most. That's the average. When I've talked to people, and I talk to them every day now. I get to talk. One thing about my new job, I get to talk to gamblers every day that come in. What's your average buy-in? It's 300 to 500. Always. One or two people have said they buy in for 1,000. One person buys in for 2,500. Everybody else is 300 to 500 bucks. And you can raise your hand in chat if that's you. Most of us are probably in that ballpark, right? With that amount of money, you can't optimize for money. And what I mean by that is you cannot go in there with a bankroll leverage strategy like a Whalen would do, like a laddering system. You cannot play that way. You simply don't have the money to play that way unless you're at a small table, $5 table, potentially, or a $1 bubble crash machine. You cannot play a bankroll strong game when your money, when the minimums are too high. And I'll give you my example. I went out with some friends the other night, and we ended up playing at a table that was actually $100 minimum, but they allowed me to play for 25. Okay, that's the group I was with, right? The minimum was 100, but I was allowed to play at 25. I only had 500 bucks. Okay, what do you do when both things are against you? Number one, 500 bucks, not enough money to play anything even remotely aggressive at a $25 table. You have to really, really be careful with what you're betting at $25. And you can't regress. If you're a $500 guy at a $25 table, you can't regress unless you're going to go out there for, $50 size bets. You can't do it. So it takes away part of your game. If you can't optimize for money, it takes away part of your game. You cannot ladder a loss, right? And you cannot regress. You are stuck at basically minimum and trying to hope to build, which means you're not optimized for time. You're not optimized for money. You're optimizing for luck. You're hoping to God that you're going to be there with that little bankroll that you got for the lucky roll or for variance to kind of swing in your direction. That's what you're really hoping for. It's so hard to hit 2 out of 3 here. And again, think of it. You got to hit 2 out of 3 of these to walk away a winner, even if you're playing the paycheck way. And I'll show you here a paycheck strategy that I would do and will do with 500 bucks at a $25 table. It's not that out of the realm. However, I could not optimize for time. So did I have some luck? A little bit. Did I have time on my side? No. Did I have bankroll on my side? No. So I ended up losing 500 bucks. I brought 500 and lost 500. And the session that I lost the 500 in, it was one of those soul crushing nights where I had walked up to the table and I walked up in the middle of somebody shooting, right? So you wait for the puck to go off to buy in. Well, it took him 30 rolls to get the puck turned off. So I missed the 30 roller waiting to get bought in, which kind of sucked. Then we played, and again, I knew we were going to be there for a couple of hours, and we went around the table like 3 times. And I couldn't regress, so I'd have to same bet, a press, and you're sort of like kind of tiptoeing around this thing, trying to keep bullets in your rack. Well, we caught a bad string of like 6 or 7, like 0.7s or 1 hits in a row, and it burned my bankroll. And I was fine with that. I brought the bankroll to burn. I knew I was going to either win good or burn the 500. I wasn't worried about losing the 500, but we said one more shooter, and then we were going to go and actually go to a different casino, believe it or not. The one more shooter that I had no money for, I'll just watch this guy go, 57 roller. So I sat there and watched 40 go by the first time, all the 0.7s, and then a 57 to close the night. And I was on neither of the good rolls. So waiting around, trying to keep bullets alive for when the luck turned, I didn't have the money because I didn't have enough money to start with, right? So if you're going to optimize your night to say, well, I'm going to play until it gets good. Well, you can't do that if you don't have enough money to play long enough to get to what's good. And that is the unfortunate truth. So it got me thinking about this topic over the weekend, and that's why I wanted to talk to you about it. So let's run over here really quick, and I'll show you something I'll show you that it's the strategy that I play all the time. But I'm gonna bump it up a level. I want to talk to you a little bit about optimization. So let me go to the table view, and then we'll come back to me here in a little bit. All right, here we go. On the table we go. So again, at a $25 table, when you have 500, there's not a lot you can do. There's just not a lot you can do. So, and again, you can do something here, but you can't optimize for any kind of time. If you know you're going to be there for 2-3 hours with a bunch of friends, right? And a bunch of guys, who are super positive, amazing people, right side players. You're not going to come out here with your $500 and rock a $25 don't pass all night. You're just not doing that, right? Even though your instinct might be, I should play the don't. You're still not doing it, and I don't care who you are when you're with a bunch of friends like that. That's just not the way you play. By yourself, with strangers, for sure, but not with a group like that. It's just whatever. You could go pass line and just rock a 1-3-2-4 pass line all night. Okay, that's fine, but you're giving it up. If you're going to sit here and say, I only have $500, I'm going to run a pass line bet, you could do that. You're kind of stuck with a single bet, and if you want to have any shot at, again, with $500, you've got 4, 8, 12, 15 cracks at it, right? 16 cracks at it. There's 16. I'm out of greens. There's your 3, 4, 5, right? 20 cracks at something cool to happen on the pass line. That's kind of your option at that level. So you're not doing that. What most of us do, what I did, was one of two things most of the night, and again trying to satisfy this, make sure I can make it through the long haul. Was this? We just did a $30 6 and 8, which is fine until the 0.7s get you, right? And $30 or $60 out here when you have 6.7s in a row. When you're here, even at the smallest possible, most probable bet you could make, right? You're still burning about $450 roughly, depending on how many hits you get in the middle of that, right? It's still a bitchin' way to play. That's kind of what I was doing. This, or I was doing a little bit of 110, but again, you can't regress. So let me talk about the $500 bankroll at a $25 table, and let's really think about some things that we can do. I'm going to take this as 3 blacks and 8 greens, and we'll just kind of monkey around a little bit. Now, at this table size, and again, if you're optimizing for quality, in other words, you've got friends, you're trying to play right side, you're trying to, be part of the team and all that kind of stuff, which I understand is a mental thing, you're not going horseman. You're not doing this, even though that would have been a pretty safe way to play, right? Even though it's 125 out of my 500, that's a pretty safe way to play. On a regular $25 table, I would actually do this, or on a cruise ship with a $25 minimum, I would play this. I would do 50 and 125. Most of the time, you're going to be up a unit, down. The way this works out, you're up a unit, down a unit. You sometimes win 3, sometimes you get donked for the 5, but pretty stable, easy way to play. That's an option for you to stick around. The $30 6 and 8 is an option for you. You might even do a $50 4 and 10, right? And literally, the 4 and 10 is not a bad way to go at a $25 table. I actually considered doing this for a hot minute there, because out of your 500, it's $50. You have 10 cracks at this to do something. And if either one of them ever hits on any shooter, it pays for the bet, right? It's 50 for one. It's not quite, but it essentially it pays for the bet. You can bring that right back to your rack and be okay. Then you can have some interesting fun with those 2 bets if you want to. But limiting yourself to 2 targets is a frustrating way to play when somebody's banging out the insides. But you got to respect your bankroll to do that. You can't be in here, as I was, 110 inside, right? Trying for 3 hits to get even and then hoping for the variance to take over, right? That's what I did a lot. Not the smartest way to play. All right. Let's talk about actually taking this amount of money, this $500, and to Dan's point, and I think I'm gonna highlight one of Dan's comments here in chat. I gotta go backwards and find it, where he says, where does he say it? I can't find it. Does anybody set a loss goal other than how much money did I bring? And I have said to you so many times, everybody, my penchant is to bring the bankroll to use the bankroll, right? My stop loss typically is my bankroll. I'm bringing the bankroll to do the job, right? I need all of it to do the job in most cases. So when I'm doing a quote unquote daily paycheck style of play, if I'm going to go to South Point on the way to work with 500, okay, I'm not going $30 6 and 8 and praying for a couple of hits. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not doing some crazy triple lux going for the ceiling play. I'm going to go here. There's 350. I'm going to go 330 inside, right? And again, that's a $10 game over there. So it's going to look like this. If we're going to go 330 inside, and we get 20 bucks change. 330, 340, there's my 350, okay? This change here could be used on the 4 and 10, okay? I may actually do that. Now, if I burn this, I burn this, okay? But let's grab some dice. Where's my dice? Let's just grab dice. Let's roll it. There's a 7 on the comment. Remember the other day, all the 7s I rolled? Holy crap, there's a 7. Look at, I can't even get out. There's a point of 10. Okay, so we have a point of 10, and watch me 7, not right away. There's a 4. Okay, we get a 4. This is a who cares bet. It's going to pay 18 bucks. We're going to call it 20 for 2. Okay, 18 bucks. If I were to drop $2 from my rack, right, it makes it 20. So let's call it 20 for the sake of visuals, right? And so the 4 and 10 are paid for. So really I'm back to my main inside play, the 330, and there's of course a 7. So when this happens, I'll show you both ways. When this happens, it goes away. I'm going to put it off to the side. And now we're out at the 160 level. Okay? Or the 110 inside. I'll probably pull those down and actually make it a 160 bet. Okay? So the $500 is either going to win here or it was going to win earlier. Let's come out again. But this has been my luck. The last there's another, look at 0.7. The last, probably, I would say, no lie, 10 times I've played craps, I've lost. I have not had a winning session in the last at least 10 times. I've been on this crazy unlucky streak, which you're seeing here in front of you. So there's 400. Wow. There we go. Let's do it again. I can't seem to get a good demo out because I can't even roll these dice good enough to show you how things are supposed to work. My life in the casino has been the exact same. It's been terrible. All right, let's do it again. Let's go to 330. Good Lord. Can you imagine having this bad of luck every single time you go? And it's funny because as we do this with you here live, it's exactly been my experience. Wow. All right, here we go. Come out again. 6. Can I even get 1? Remember last week I got 0 inside hits? There's that 20 for 2 again. So the outside bets are paid for. I never got 1 inside hit all last week. We were doing this demo. There's another one. Again, 20 for 2. So we'll press them both to 20. Can't even get, there we go. My God. All right. So that pays 105. Here's the actual plan, right? 105 for an inside number. Okay. And then we're going to bring them down to 220. So we're going to go here. We're going to go to, I'm going to bring down $110. There's my 220 for the next run. So that all comes back, and then we'll actually come out here for a 220. I'll get a black, trade in that black for some greens. Yeah, okay. And we'll go down to 220. And get a 9. There's our second hit. That would pay 75 for 5. We'll do, I don't even have 75, do I? I have no money left. Wow. I'm going to have to give them 30 bucks for 100 because I'm out of money to pay myself with. All right, so now we're done. That's the whole plan. It's a 2-hit inside. Two inside hits, reduce the money, and go home. That would be the ideal way. And again, if I lose the 330, you come out with the 160, and you kind of hope for at some point getting a couple of hits. And that brings back your bankroll. There's your 500. There's 3, 4. There's your 500. And you're out with 100, 200 bucks. 2, 3. There's 100, 220 bucks, right? That's the idea. You walk with 220 a day. If you can get 2 inside hits, you walk with 220 a day from 500. If you're going to have 500 bucks and you're stuck at a $25 table, 330 to 220 and out and walk, right? That would be a way to play with $25 units with a small bankroll as a get in and get out system. But as you can see, let's go back to the screen. What you can't optimize for is luck, right? That system says, I'm going to be here for a very short amount of time. We're looking for 2 hits, potentially 4 hits, right? Optimized for a very short amount of time. My money is not optimized for, but I'm going to take the money that I have and use it as a hammer. I say this all the time. You can't make 220 bucks at a $5 table without being there for 6 hours. You just can't do it, right? So we're going to take our money, our small amount of money, as a big hammer. We're going to say we only have a little bit. We're going to use all of it, though. We're going to make those bets meaningful so that when they win a meaningful amount. That's how we optimize for money with a short bankroll at big bet sizes. So you can optimize for time and money. You can say, look, I'm going to be over 2 rolls, big ass bets, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not putting my mortgage at risk. I'm putting 500 bucks at risk. That's it. Actually, 330 at risk, right? That's my optimization. I can't account for that quick 0.7 out that we just saw. You can't account for luck. You can't create luck unless you happen to be the world's greatest dice shooter. You can't create luck. Now, the opposite side of that is to bet super small and do it a whole lot of times, right? Again, not optimizing for time because you're going to be there forever, right? You're taking your money, your big bankroll, and making it tiny little slivers so you have many of them. That's an optimization for money for sure. And then you're really optimizing for luck. You're hoping for luck. You're hoping that you can last long enough to be there when the inevitable 57 roller comes, right? That's what you're hoping for. So you can usually get 2 out of 3. You can say, I'm going to play a short game with big money. I'm going to play a long game with little money, right? But you can't say, I'm going to do all that and be lucky, right? You can't optimize for all 3 things at the same time. It's only 2. So that's what makes these games so hard to play, right? So you've got to be mentally strong, and you've got to understand that you can't do it all. You can't go out there with a big ass set of bets with a tiny little bankroll and hope for a lucky roll at the same time. All 3 things cannot be true. So let's go here. I'm going to go actually forward, and we'll answer some questions. I see a couple questions out there. So let's go and optimize for your questions. Dan, I'll re-put your questions. Anyone set a loss goal rather than how much money that I bring? And again, I don't. Personally, me, the money I bring is the money I bring. That was tonight's loss goal is what I brought with me. And I'm hoping that my strategy was strong enough, that the luck was with me, and that things go my way with that money. It's got a plan. I have a goal. That's it for me. Let's see. It's pretty much like going to jail. Once they got your time, they got you. 100% Winfield. That is well said. Well said. Let's see. Dan's a 250, and I've watched Dan play. Dan's watched me play. We know. 100% true. I've not played this yet. The Battleship game. Is it any good? It's basically bubble craps, right? As I understand it, it's a lot like every bet's a hop bet, right? Like you're kind of the dice roll and you're on a number and it knocks their ship out. But it's basically it's like sick bow. Everything's a hop bet. Is that correct, Biff? Can you expound on that a little bit? I think it's how that game works. I haven't seen it yet, but what does Tom say? Manipulated, be manipulated. You're in a mutual relationship with the casino. Oh my God, so true. No negativity or hard feelings. It's just what it is. I love that statement, man. That's so true. It's a relationship. It's one of those dysfunctional relationships, right? That's the best way to put that. You can't be angry at them. That's why I said the casino is out to bankrupt you, right? I don't hate them for that. Like, I think that's fine. That's their business model. That's the business model, is to take all your money. Where I get mad at casinos, by the way, when I say that in the very first part of the show, is not that they're there to bankrupt you. It's that they do it without caring about you. And you can be in business to take somebody's money, but not be so F you about it. The way some casinos are, the way corporations view you as a peg in the board kind of a thing, right? There's a better, more human way to do that, I think. And if I ever owned a casino, it would lean into player experience. Like, yes, we have the edge over you. While you're here, we want you to have the best time possible. Like, I would go out of my way to make sure that while you're losing, and you will lose to me, that we have the best time together as possible. Like, amazing dealers, great environment, the best sports book. Like, I want it to be a great experience. Like, I want you to lean into I'm probably going to lose money this weekend, but if I'm going to lose it, I'm going to lose it here versus lose it there because of the experience. And if somebody does have a problem, they won't be in my casino. I can tell you that right now. Like, my casino will not be the casino that looks to bankrupt somebody and ruin their life. Like, that's the problem I have with casinos, by the way. It's that they could give two shits about ruining your life. I care about that. My casino will be run differently. You guys will all come because it's going to be a great place. Casino John's going to be the best casino ever invented. But yeah, I'm going to lean into experience, and I will not let you mortgage your house. Like, that will be a we'll go out of our way to have that relationship that Tom Marco was talking about, but have it in a way that's not dysfunctional. That's what I want, is that's the word, a non-dysfunctional casino. How about that? Let's see. Nico, I think craps is it is a pretty fair game. The main battles with the guy in the mirror, right? How often do I say that, right? It's always the casino does a good job of putting you against yourself. You do battle yourself the whole time. And if you don't set a goal and a walk goal, it's tough. The other night when I was out there with the guys, right, I had my 500, and actually early on, I was up about 210, 220 or something like that. I could have stopped playing right then. I was at my goal, right? But again, you're going to be there for 3 or 4 hours with people, and you're not going to buy in, get 2 good shooters out of the gate, and then stop playing the whole night. Like, that's not the point of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why tomorrow we're going to talk a little bit about vacationing versus targeting. Vacation versus target practice is a real thing. I think we should probably spend some time on that. So, all right, what does JR say? The necessity for at least a low-cost, minimally multi-point attack requires optimization towards 2 come bets with odds. Okay, and most dice people should realize this, but nobody does. And I would agree, except for the odds part. You got to be careful with the odds. If you have no money, $500 at a $25 table, you cannot do max odds. You can do a come bet or 2. But you can't put more than single odds on that because you just don't have the bank until you win a couple of them. You don't have the bankroll to do it. You need to have low come bets, low odds early so you can build a stack to do the max odds with later. But you're 100% right. To optimize for time with low bankroll, you got to lower the house edge. You cannot be playing volatile bets when you have low money. And I probably should have made that point earlier, but the low house edge games are better for you when you have a little bit of money. When you have more money, the higher house edge bets are actually better because you want the swing. You want the big variance. You don't get variance in low house edge games. You just don't. You get the variance with higher house edge bets, but you don't have the money to get there and stay into it. So there it is. I love it. $300 at the baccarat table, $200 and get the hell out. I love it. And that's it. Good. You're going on the way to work, it sounds like, right? That's awesome. The pass line parlay would not have worked that day, believe it or not. At the table I was at, they were not hitting a lot of points. It was the one guy that with the 40 roller that started was on the same point the whole time. He had hit his point and never got off his point. He never turned the puck off. So that was no pass line. The other guy too, same thing. He did hit 5 points. So that would have been a good one on him. He hit 5 points. He had 1 come out 7, no come out horn numbers. That would have been a parlay guy. That 57 roller guy would have been great. But I went 6 and 8 on it, and that was the end of the story. So, all right. Craps is the best game for hit and run because the longer you stay there, you give them a chance at it. Again, that's what they want. They want a chance at your money for sure. All right. What else do we have? Let's play this week, says Dan. You gonna spot me some money there, Dan? Let's see how it works. I am on the CQ. I actually have my own room now. I have my own room at the CQ headquarters here. And again, I'm here for this week. Going home, I think next Tuesday, and then I'll be back in mid-July. So, all right. Do not know yet, Dan, about Crash for the Cure yet. I'm still mulling it over. I've got to. I got to get organized. I still owe for last year's makeup bets. I still owe about $5,000 to do the two what do you call it? The two raffle items that I have to make up the loss, not the losses, but the promises for. So I'm still in arrears from that. So we'll see how this year goes. And that's what I did, by the way. We had put minimum amounts on the two raffle items, and I said, look, we won't raffle these things off until they raise $2,500. Well, they didn't raise that money. We still did the raffle thing, and I still am. I promised to put that money to make the difference up. So that's where a lot of it's going. So, all right, guys, I'm out of here. I got to go to work. It's 8 o'clock, a little after 8. Have a good day. Tomorrow again, we'll talk tomorrow about this idea of vacationing versus paychecking. It'll be a great discussion, I hope, on two different mindsets, two different goal sets. So, with that said, you all have a great one. I'll see you on Tuesday. Have a good week if I don't see you back then. In the meantime, God bless all y'all. Bye.